Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Federation's Most Wanted, a Blake 7 podcast. I'm the Preacher 711, and I'm on a mission to seek, locate, and interview Blake 7 fans from across the community. And today I'm really fortunate to be joined by a successful YouTuber, analyst, episode analyzer, diagnoser, chopper upper, and talkie about her. It's the one and only Dr. Whom. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, it's nice to be here.
Great to have you. How you doing? What's new?
I'm fine, thank you. My channel is currently under what I like to call renovations, which is a rather eloquent way of saying I'm doing absolutely sod all at the moment. But I have got ideas for the future.
Brilliant. Excellent stuff. Yeah, I've did because you and I chatted over Twitter and that, and I didn't realize you had this YouTube channel. So I must shamelessly admit that it's only recently I realized I did eat back through some of the other ones. And it's great because I'm a guy that, I hadn't really, not for decades anyway, consumed a lot of Doctor Who. And watching some of what the things you had to say made me dive into some of the more recent ones, like things like the Flux. I watched your Flux review and I went back then and went, oh, I'll give it a go. Why not? So thanks for that.
That's good to hear. I think that series, the only way I can think of really describing it is that it's good until it isn't. Like I think the first 4 episodes are excellent, and then it some reason just absolutely loses it towards the end. I don't know what happens, but I like series that vary in quality. It makes it much more fun to review than just saying it's good all the time.
Straight off with the first question then. How and when did Blake 7 come into your life? How did you find out about it? What got you into it?
It's really interesting because technically I've been watching Blake 7 for about 2 years because I think it was January 2021 ish that I first watched The Wait Back, but it took me a while to get into it. Like it's weird because Series A has been a series that has probably been my favorite for like the longest. But I can't really, in all honesty, say it's my absolutely favorite series because considering it took me over a year to watch it in comparison to Series B, which I managed to watch all of in about 3 weeks. So yeah, it's always been something I've heard of because being a Doctor Who fan, just liking Big Finish in general, it's always sort of coming up as suggestions on YouTube or on the back of Vortex magazine or advertising the Doctor Who magazine. But I think perhaps the image, which is ironic considering I haven't got it yet, that really got me into the show was, funny enough, the last person at the time of the recording, that is, that you interviewed on here, being Colt Edge, was that 1982 annual. I thought the cover was so brilliant and it really got me interested into the series. So I sort of have them to thank, just purely aesthetically in terms of the cover, that really got me into the series.
So you mentioned the different series that you started off with the season A. There is where you began. Good start at the start. But what was your favourite series? What's the one that's really a you?
I despite sound like I'm going off on a tangent, but I feel there's a misconception in the Blake 7 fandom that you're either this massive Series D fan or you really like Series C. However, Series C is my favorite, though I think Series D is probably second. I feel like I love the Avon era of Blake 7, and I think Series C is it's the first series. Well, it's the only series I've got on DVD. It's just I just think I always like series that really focus on character, and it's a very character focused and character led series. And I just think it's a quite outstanding quality, and it's got some of my favorite episodes in there. So I mean, people criticize it for the fact it's not as well structured a series as the other ones. Doesn't really have like a narrative that ties it all together. Though I just my logic is that I'll only ever really watch them in order once, and the rest of the time I'm just going to watch through my favorites. And I think Series C has pretty much all my favorites in there. So yeah, it's my favorite definitely.
Team Blake or Team Avon?
Team Avon, definitely. He's one of my favorite fictional characters. I absolutely love Blake. He's an incredible character and acted wonderfully by Gareth Thomas, though. There's just something about the Avon era of Blake 7. I think I feel like everyone sort of relaxed into their roles at that point, and I feel like it's just the peak of Blake Seven, and there's just so many. Like, I feel like you look at most people's top 10 episodes, I'd say like over 50% of them are from series C or D. So I just think just the quality has just reached its peak at that point.
Peak Blake Seven, and I mean, I'm now fascinated to hear about next one is favorite episodes or favorite ones that resonate with you the most. It sounds like there's going to be a few. Tell me all about it.
I'm going to agree with Quadmatter here. Terminal is, in my opinion, one of the best from a purely writing perspective and directorial perspective. Mary Ridge is an excellent director, probably Blake Seven's best director. Terminal is for me the best episode of Blake Seven. I love real good poetic justice for villains like Servalan. The whole really the series does kind of have an arc of her wanting to get hold of the Liberate, and then when she does have it, I mean, at that point anyway, it was supposed to be the thing that killed her, and I think that's such a sort of nice. It's just a perfect sort of way to tie up the series. And I think other series finales are great. However, I feel like they're more designed to set up massive cliffhangers for the next series opener to sort of resolve than sort of tying up the series. And I think Terminal does, but ties up the series itself and sets up a possible return as well. I think it does both, which is something that's quite rare. And I agree with other people. It defines the character of Avon, and yeah, it's an incredible piece of television. Trial, I think, is also a very underrated episode. I think it's an incredibly clever episode. The parallels between Blake and Avon, it really sort of it's just, I think it's their relationship, even though they don't even share a scene. I just think it's an incredible Chris Boucher episode, and he is like the king of character writing when it comes to Blake Seven. Yeah, I've got loads of favorites. Obviously Orbit as well, which took me a while to like, but I think I've warmed to that
Well,
one now.
that's not come up.
Terminal.
Yeah, no one said. I'm interested to hear about this. It's a fresh one on the list. Orbit. Come on, tell me about that.
It's going to sound a bit odd, but when I first watched Orbit, I actually thought I didn't think Avon would ever go quite that far as to like almost kill Villa, but I think sort of rewatching a few Series D episodes and to really see how far his character has gone in terms of his sacrifices he's willing to make. I think it's actually just it's a perfect bit of characterization. But yeah, I think there was a bit of tonal whiplash going on between the Gambit style quirks of the villains and then the really sort of hard-hitting drama of the last act. But I think they work perfectly in rewatch. I really it really warmed on me quite quickly and quite considerably.
Brilliant. Any others? Any other special mentions?
Duel, purely from a directorial point of view. I think the story takes a while to get over because it's like I paused it. I was watching it on BritBox and I paused it to notice that the actual duel, the titular duel, only happens like 30 minutes into the episode. It's like there's an awful lot of setup. But I think because it's one of the only episodes that doesn't have the usual Dudley Simpson score, and I think it adds this sort of really eerie atmospheric quality to it. And I think Douglas Camfield is up there with Mary Ridge as the best director of Blake Seven. And I wish he had another episode because yeah, it's very underrated. And I think it would have been really interesting to see, especially as the budget increased in Series B, what he would have done if he had another Blake Seven episode to deal with.
It's brilliant stuff, sir. And so we're going to go the flip side of this then. Least favorite episode. We're not saying worst, just least favorite.
I think it's going to come as no surprise to anyone who's ever seen my Twitter account to know that Ben Steed is a writer that I really, really don't like. And I know that some people, some very weird people, i.e. Rushy, really likes Harvest of Kairos. And I can kind of see why, because like if you're going to replace, I've seen Maximum Power podcast mentioned like replacing Blake Seven episodes character with Muppets. But I think it's going to replace any cast with Muppets. It's to be the Harvest of Kairos, and I would say I would like to see Jarvik as like the one human character, but the temptation to make him animal is just too great. And I think Jacqueline Pierce should be the one human character. I think it's camp and it's silly. But yeah, there's just some slight undertone to that episode that I don't approve of. But yeah, the trilogy of Ben Steed is not an era of Blake Seven that I like to revisit very often. Although I've rewatched all of them, and I regret doing that quite a lot. And but yeah, I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of a few Alan Pryor episodes either. The Keeper springs to mind, which is odd because I loved it when I first watched it. I thought it had this quirky Robert Holmes quality to it, but it just on rewatch I thought like, when's the plot going to happen? Like it's an almost entirely plotless episode. But yeah, it's fun in its way. And I quite like animals. I know that episode gets a lot of hate, but Jacqueline Pierce, whose birthday is today, I think, if she was still alive, she's incredible in that episode. She usually goes quite a bit over the top in that last series, but I think she strikes a fine balance in between proper good villaining, if that's a word, around, and also that ham that we all love to see. And it's a good Dana episode. Josette Simon's very good, but the love story is a bit forced. But yeah, the web, that's one. I'm sort of stealing my answers off Quad Matter, but I don't like that one. I mean, it's got a bit of Douglas Camfield going on. I think it's trying to do with the eerie atmosphere, but the absolute scream fest in the last act it's almost unwatchable for me. It's too much. But yeah, that's sort of my least favorite.
Liberator or Scorpio?
I'm pretty boring here. The Liberator. I think behind the scenes they were trying to sort of do this USS Enterprise thing with the Liberator, this really graceful spaceship. But then obviously as you moved over into the more Star Wars era of science fiction, they tried to mirror. I don't know, I'm not a Star Wars connoisseur, but I think the Millennium Falcon, they were trying to sort of mirror that with Scorpio. But yeah, it's the Liberator definitely. And I wish, considering Dorian's meant to be this sort of salvage hunter man, I wish they'd really made Scorpio look a bit more battered and tatty, like he'd built it himself. I think the interior is just a little bit boring for me. But it's a fine spaceship. And I like Slave. Robert Holmes clearly also loves him with the amount of quotable lines, which are funny to think about. I can't quote any at the moment, but he has a lot of fun. He likes that type of character. He likes sci-fi cockneys. So yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Space cockneys. Travis 1 or Travis 2? Which are you going for?
This is probably controversial, but I absolutely love Travis 2. He's another space cockney, which is why Robert Holmes clearly loved writing him in Gambit. I think Brian Croucher is such a unique actor, and he always puts so much into his performance, and it's when you get a good Travis Brian Croucher episode, like he's perhaps his interpretation of the character is more true to what Terry Nation imagined. He is supposed to be this sort of military figure, and to have this more Moriarty mustache twirling Sherlock villain, which is what Stephen Greaves Travis is. I think he's fantastic, and I love his Travis. And whichever Travis I'm watching, I'm always sort of think, right, that one's my favorite. Then I watch like the other one, I think, no, that one's my favorite. But at the moment, it's Travis too. I think he's also in more episodes, which is something. Maybe that's tainting my judgment a bit. But yeah, it's a shame. I feel like towards the second part of the series, he just doesn't get enough to do. But especially in Pressure Point and Trout, I think he did really good performances in that episode. So yeah, Travis too, definitely.
Big shootout on Gouda Prime, bodies everywhere. Who survived? Did anybody survive? Tell me.
I think I would be doing Darrow dirty if I said not Avon, considering that would make all of his Lucifer books non-canon. So I've got to say Avon. Obviously Villa, because he's like my second favorite Blake Seven character, and I'd like to say Dana because I feel like unlike I think Tarrant and Sulan, I don't think that her character came to like a proper end. I just feel like in that last series her character wasn't really, a lot of her character traits sort of just went missing. I don't think much of a story was picked up apart from Animals, which isn't very good in terms of her character development. I'd like to see her character get a more proper ending, really. I feel like there's a few loose threads, and I feel like there's a few directions the character could be taken. And I think the series was a bit too the series didn't want to do. So yeah, Sunin sort of got her end in terms of Gouda Prime, and Tarrant got a bit watered down, but he got Death Watch, and I don't think I feel like if Animals is Dana's Death Watch, I think she deserved a better um episode to herself. So I'd like to think she survived.
What's your Blake Seven wish? Okay, you can give us anything. Blu-rays, action figures, sequel series, whatever. But what would your one wish be?
I think it's pretty well known that I would love Blake Seven action figures. I mean, I probably can't suggest it anymore to Big G Studios. They'll probably block me for harassing them. But they would be wonderful. I'd especially like you get Prisoner action figures. There's so many sort of cult sci-fi series that are getting their own action figures these days. I think it's surprising that we haven't seen any, to be honest. Obviously Blu-rays as well would be lovely. In the style of the Doctor Who collection series. So yeah, action figures and Blu-rays. I'm quite boring there. I think they would be wonderful.
No, I don't think they're boring. And please, can your harassment of toy manufacturers continue? It's certainly on my dream bucket list if we could get those. Another one I'll quickly ask you is minor characters. Favorite minor character? Who did you really enjoy? Who would you like to see come back in like a Big Finish spin-off?
I'm patiently waiting for the adventures of Freedom City box set. Like we've had Space City box set. I'd love to see the further adventures of Krantor. And John Leeson does Big Finish. He does K9, obviously. So we could potentially have more toys box sets. So I think Freedom City Big Finish is an area that I'd love to see. I love Gambit. So I'd really love to see more of that. I had this idea a while ago because obviously Big Finish have got their Doctor Who Unbound range, like an alternative universe Doctor Who. I also think be lovely to see that in terms of Blake Seven as well, like a box set of like obviously we know Avon survived Gouda Prime, but what if everyone but Avon survived Gouda Prime? That'd be interesting to see. So I've that yeah, a nice Gambit style box set and an alternative universe series would be a lovely thing to see. And obviously, I think it's Blake Seven's 45th, 55th, 45th, I think it is, anniversary next year. So maybe we might see something like that. It'd be a nice celebration of the show. I don't know if they do sort of half anniversaries like that, but it'd be a lovely thing if Big Finish were able to do something like that.
And talking of your Big Finish, how's your Big Finish collection going? Because I think the last video you showed, it was growing all the time. Anything new appeared?
Quite a lot of Blake Seven. I think in a minute I'm probably going to go down. I'm probably going to order Crossfire Part 2 because I'm
Nice.
desperate to listen to Paul Darrow's contribution to Big Finish audio range. Yeah, I've got quite a few more things, but I'm really enjoying really indulging myself into the expanded universe of Blake Seven at the moment. Haven't got any of their Worlds of Blake Seven box sets yet. I keep saying I'm going to get them every time they announce one because they look so nice, but I haven't been able to get hold of one yet.
We're out of time. Thanks ever so much for joining me today, Doctor. It's been absolutely brilliant. It's been great to see you. I hope you'll come back on again in a future one.
That'd be very nice. Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody out there for continuing to listen, hopefully. Do like and subscribe. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.